Hey guys!
Hello.
I'm here with my son.
The next 3 to 5 minutes, call me back.
Okay, sir. See you in a bit. Yay! Okay, so I'm going to do a quick introduction. Dr. D, this is my son, Josiah. Daniel Spencer. He's in Japan, second year at Notre Dame, and he convinced them to let him study there. Dr. D will be in April. And those of you watching live, so Dr. Demartini was, and Josiah, he was in the book and the movie, The Secret, but I got to be exposed to your work before that. I went to the breakthrough experience and got some profound shifts in my world. And yeah, like we've talked about before, I got the chance, Roy Smooth said, hey, who do you think should be in The Secret? And they were asking me about Dennis Waitley. And I was like, you have to have Dr. Demartini. No one has done anything quite the way that he has. You have a very unique perspective on life. And so then you and Martha got together. And Dr. D, to give you a little background on Josiah, and then we'll jump in. So Josiah and I are looking to build our relationship together. There are a lot of years where I was not present in his world. And so the way that we're looking for mothering, I'm looking to show up as mother for him. We have this podcast, The Mom and Son, where we're interviewing influencers. I like to say legends, but that's not millennial appropriate anymore. So we're interviewing people that we find profound, influential together as a way to get around the value system together. So we're going to ask you some questions, and any coaching that you have to help us build our relationship and heal, you know, any of our past experience together so we can go forward would be phenomenal, but optional.
Well, first of all, I'm very grateful that we got our technology together. We were able to put this together. So thank you for being patient with that. And my skills in that, I have to delegate some of that sometimes. So I'm grateful for it all working out.
Yeah, and I said you're further along. The people you delegate to are way better paid than the people that I delegate to right now, and you have more of them, I'm sure.
Yes, I've been blessed that way.
Awesome. All right, so Dr. D, you're in California right now, right?
I'm here for about another couple hours, then I'm off to Melbourne, Australia. I'm flying
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. So what would you say is the core principle behind, like, the core of your work? I know you've taught so much. If you, like, yeah, what would you say is the core of your work?
Well, every human being, regardless of age, gender, or culture, lives moment by moment with and through a set of priorities or values in their life, things that are most to least important. And whenever they're doing actions that are aligned and congruent with what they value most, their highest priority, they tend to excel. They tend to expand. They tend to gain confidence, and they're spontaneously inspired from within to act. And accessing what's truly most meaningful and fulfilling for them is one of the keys to excelling and great achievement and waking up natural born leadership and having fulfillment. So I do what I can to assist people in identifying what that is and help them structure their life in such a way that they can delegate lower priority things and get on with higher priority things so they have more meaning and fulfillment in life. And when the person does that, they're grateful and they're inspired and they do original contributions. And that's one of the most rewarding things I get to do as a teacher traveling the world. But helping people, I always say the magnificence of who you are is far greater than any fantasies you'll impose on yourself. So giving yourself permission to be you and to live congruently with what that is, and not live in the shadows of people, but stand on the shoulders of great giants and realize that you have that inside yourself, and to give yourself permission to let that out is very rewarding. And watching people who do that, regardless of age and gender or background, extraordinary things are contributed to the world by that.
That's awesome. Josiah, I have you muted only because of the background on the train. And guys, we found out that it's impolite for Josiah to talk on the transit in Japan, but he may bust in some questions here. And Josiah, you can also type in the chat box if you want us to ask. And going forward, So Dr. D, I want to hear a little bit about your origin story, because most people know you already as like this celebrity in your own right. I mean, you live on this, Josiah, he lives on a ship called the World. Look it up. And I want to talk about that too, but I'd love to hear, you know, how you started. Were you always just like the successful guy rocking and rolling? Give us your story.
Well, I don't really classify myself as success. I just call myself a man on a mission.
Yeah.
But some people label things like that. But I was blessed. I believe that everything that goes on in our life is on the way, not in the way. And the challenges that I had as a child were essential for me to do what I'm doing today. I may not have seen that till later in my life, but I can look back now and see that there's nothing that needs to be fixed or changed. I did have speaking problems and challenges. I had a arm and leg turned in. I had to wear braces, which constrained, which is probably what allowed me to want to be free and travel the world today. I had speaking problems, learning problems. Almost everything that I was told in first grade that I would never be able to read or write or communicate, never amount to anything, never go very far in life, was exactly what I needed to probably later in my life do what I'm doing. Because today I full-time travel around the world, and I research and I write and I teach, and this is what I love doing every day. And I can't think of anything else I would rather be doing. Otherwise, I'd be doing it. But my dream is to continue to learn and to continue to share anything that can help people maximize their human awareness and potential and allow them to do something extraordinary with their life, because everybody wants to make a difference, and they want to make a difference according to who they are. They want to be loved and appreciated for who they are. And I believe that there's a science on how to help people do that. And I love sharing that because it's reproducible, it's duplicatable, it can be translated to different languages and translated to different people. And if a person follows it, they do extraordinary things. So I can't wait to get up and give that to people, share that with people.
Yeah, you do a great job with that. Is there ever a time that you now lack confidence, or you have moments where you just wake up?
You know, people ask me if I ever have fear of public speaking, which I thought was funny. I don't have a fear of public speaking. I have a fear of not speaking more so. Yeah, I love speaking, but you know, anytime I pursue something that is deeply meaningful and congruent with who I am, I can't say that I have doubts or insecurities or self-depreciation. But anytime I'm fooling myself and attempting to be somebody I'm not and get away from my own integrity, my physiology and psychology will reveal to me through self-depreciation or anxieties or whatever, and let me know when I'm not being authentic. So that happens on rare occasions, but I know what I'm up to. I know what I'm doing in the sense of my dream. And so I just stay focused on it. I've asked myself many years, I asked myself, what is the highest priority action or actions I can do right now that can help me fulfill what's most meaningful to me? And how can I serve the greatest number of people with the resources I have today? And after doing that for so long, you get to a sense for what's priority. And then what I've done is I've delegated everything else away, surrounded myself with people that do and love to do the things that I want to delegate. so I can get on to doing my research, writing, traveling, and teaching. And the rest of it, I don't do. I just delegate. I mean, I haven't cooked since I was 24. I haven't driven a car in 29 and a half years. I delegate everything. And so that way I'm not trying to do something that's not as meaningful and inspiring, or something I'm not as competent in. And I stick to my core competence. And that is very liberating, to say the least, and fulfilling to do what you love to do every day. And the rest of it I delegate out. I don't try to do something that I'm not inspired by. I don't find that that's a way to have an inspired life.
Yeah, that's deep. After I heard you talk about that in Dallas, I got a little chef cooking meals for me in a little deep freeze, a little Brazilian chef. She did add some potatoes and beans to my world. We have to scale those back. But Josiah wants to know, how did you get into the work that you're doing now? How old were you? And what was that tipping point for you?
Well, when I was 4, I envisioned myself being a baseball player. And because I just got out of my braces, I had to wear braces until I was 4. And all I wanted to do is run then, because the braces straightened out my leg and arm enough where I could run. And I just wanted to play ball, and I just wanted to run. That was my dream until I turned 13. And 12 to 13, my parents moved from Houston, Texas to Richmond, Texas. And baseball wasn't the same. Sometimes the coach wouldn't show up. Sometimes the team wouldn't show up. And so my other sport that I was decent at was surfing. But Texas was not a surf capital. So I had to hitchhike. So at 14, I hitchhiked to California and went to Huntington Beach, California. At 15, I went to Hawaii, and I wanted to ride big waves. So from 13 to 18, my life was surfing. Then when I would turn right before my 18th birthday, a week before my 18th birthday, well, just a few weeks beforehand, I nearly died surfing. I was living on the North Shore of Oahu. And that led me to a health food store to try to help recover. And that led me to meet Paul Bragg, who is a legend in his own right. And that one night, in 1 hour with that one man, with his one message, awakened inside me a desire and a yearning and a belief that maybe, just maybe, I could become intelligent, learn how to read, and overcome my learning problems. Because I was a high school dropout, and I was living, in a tent at the time.
Wow.
And my dream was to learn how to read and to be able to write and be able to speak properly and overcome all the challenges I had as a child. That's why I'm saying now, those are perfect voids I needed to do what I'm doing today. And it was a slow process. It wasn't an easy process, but at age 17 to 18, my trajectory changed. And that's when I decided I wanted to be traveling the world and to teach. I had a dream to go to every country around the world. I haven't reached them all yet, but I intend to keep getting to it. We got 3 or 4 more scheduled already this year. And I just wanted to go and travel the world and to share whatever I researched and try to do what this man did for me when I was 17 with as many people as I can. So I've been doing that for 46 years, going on my 47th year now of doing that. And I still cranking doing that. I still keep a crazy schedule doing that because that's what I love doing.
Once you decided you were going to do it, did you just show up somewhere and set out
my first student, I first had to go and take a GED, a high school equivalency test, and pass that. Then I had to go and take a college entrance exam and test and pass that because I didn't have high school. I didn't finish high school. Then I had to go and learn how to study because I failed my first class in college. It was just an absolute bummer. I made 27. I needed 72 to pass. I got 27. And I almost gave up on my dream. And my mom found me crying in the living room after I failed the first test. And she said, "Son, what happened?" I said, "I blew the test, Mom. I guess I'll never read, write, or communicate, never amount to thing, never go very far in life." And she just stood there. And finally she said, "Son, whether you become a great teacher, healer, and philosopher and travel the world like you dream, whether you go back to Hawaii and ride giant waves like you've done, or whether you return to the streets and panhandle as a bum like you've done, I just want to let you know that your father and I are going to love you no matter what." And when she said that, my hand went into a fist. And I looked up and I saw a vision of me standing in front of 1 million people. And I said to myself, I'm going to master this thing called reading and studying and learning and I'm going to master this thing called teaching and philosophy and healing. And I'm going to do everything I can, travel whatever distance, pay whatever price to give my service of love across the planet. I'm not going to let any human being on the face of the planet stop me. And I was really, there was a no turning back moment. It was a determination that I'm very grateful for. And I went into my room and I locked myself in my room and I started reading a dictionary and memorizing 30 words a day with the help of my mom, who tested me, until my vocabulary was strong enough to pass school. And then I started reading, and I wanted to read. That's all I cared about. I wanted to read, and I started reading 18 to 20 hours a day and just living in books and reading encyclopedias and dictionaries and just reading. About a year later, well, during that year, an Afro-American woman came up to me and asked me to teach her yoga. And then shortly after that, a Persian man asked me to teach him meditation. And then right after that, a group of kids got out and asked me to teach them math, which I was learning. And my speaking career began, and I never stopped. By the time I was at the University of Houston, I'd have 100 to 150 students every day under the trees gathered and asking questions. And if it rained, we went to the cafeteria, and sometimes 400 people would gather. And I just never stopped, and I just did it until it was citywide, statewide, nationwide, and now globally. And I just never gave up on it. And when I turned before my 19th birthday, my mom said, "Son, what do you want for your birthday and for Christmas?" Because I was born on Thanksgiving Day. And I said, "Mom, I want the greatest teachings on the face of the earth, the greatest writings humanity's ever created from the greatest minds and thinkers throughout the world." And she just looked at me with kind of like you don't want a t-shirt? I said, "No, Mom, I want the greatest teachings on the face of the earth. I want the greatest writings that's ever been written by the greatest minds." So she contacted her brother, who is my uncle, who was a professor at MIT, who was a physicist and chemist, a very bright man. And as a gift, this man sent me 2 giant 6 by 6 by 6 foot wooden crates of books to our house.
Wow.
They came in on a flatbed truck, and I went out there with a crowbar when it got put on the ground, and I opened them up and I filled my room with books. And I just started devouring and reading, like I said, 18 to 20 hours a day. And I never stopped. And they said I would never be able to read. Today I've read over 30,230 something books, almost 40 books now. And so they say, when somebody tells you you can't do something, you just might be destined to do it. And the things they told me I would never do in first grade is the very things that I've set out and been able to do. So the challenges in life are your blessings, not your curses.
That's such a beautiful story. I've never heard it. Josiah, you can unmute yourself if you'd like. I tried, but you're not able, I wasn't able to. If you have a question. Josiah was born on Christmas Day. You're a Thanksgiving baby. He's a Christmas Day baby. That's really cool. And weren't you a chiropractor in there as well?
Yes, when I went on from a junior college at Wharton, I went on to the University of Houston, and then I went on to chiropractic college. So I ended up going nearly 10 years of college. And I wanted to be involved in the healing arts. I didn't believe there was an excess of drugs or a deficiency of drugs or an excess of organs. So I didn't want to do drugs and surgery. I had a pre-med. I was actually by the time I was 21, I was in the pre-med honor society.
Wow.
But I didn't want to go into medicine because I just didn't feel that was where I wanted. I believe that the power that made the body healed the body. I believe that the power was within. I didn't believe it was too many organs or deficiency of drugs. So I chose that pathway, chiropractic, after reading a book by Marcus Bach called The Chiropractic Story. And I'm very grateful I did, because I learned so much being a chiropractor and being in school there. I went to Baylor Medical School while I was going to chiropractic college to see the comparison of the educational system. And I realized while I was taking medical classes secretly, just to see if that was the same education. And I was doing well in that class, just like the other ones. And I realized that my education was superior. And I was always 10 timesing the expectation. Whatever the class would ask, I would always multiply it times 10 and expected that for myself.
Wow.
And so my education, I think, was blessed. But I'm so grateful I did that, because there's some things I would have probably never gotten to learn had I gone a different path. And that opened up the doorway for me. When I opened up my practice in 1982, I started out a 970 square foot office, and 9 months later I had a 2,100 square foot office, and 9 months later I had a 5,000 square foot office. And I had a bunch of doctors working for me, and people wanted to know what I was doing and why and how I was growing and achieving this. And I just told them that I was a man on a mission. And I've been a man on a mission ever since. But I knew that I was not going to full-time practice, because I felt like I was going to limit myself sitting in a little cubicle every day, working one-on-one with people. I had to leverage that more efficiently, because I started doing radio and television and newspapers and magazines and presentations, and just like today, I do a lot of outreach with other forms of media, including podcasts. And but I'm grateful for that, because without a doubt, we have way more potential as a healer within than people give credit to it. And I believe that our physiology, our psychology, our sociology, and even our theology is trying to offer us constant feedback to try to get us authentic when we're not allowing ourselves to be. We're not here to compare ourselves to others. We're here to compare our daily actions to our own highest values and dreams. And putting people on pedestals and pits and not putting them in our hearts distracts us by trying to change ourselves into others or others into ourselves, which is futile. But giving ourselves permission to shine and allow others and help others shine is extremely rewarding and meaningful. And chiropractic was a pathway of service that allowed me to do that and opened up doors for me to open up my speaking career and to do what I'm doing today. I just spoke to about, I guess, a couple thousand chiropractors just last Friday. And as I travel the world, I get the opportunity to do that. And it's still very special to me, because even though I don't practice now, it's a special group. They're part of my evolution. But today I'm interested in helping people in the healing arts and all. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's lots of ways of healing, and anything that can do healing, I'm involved in.
Yeah, that's such a great story. I'd love for you to, I know we covered this in our last interview, but that story that you shared about going to speak in the prison and the principles behind it, I think is so powerful. And even thinking of my relationship with my son, and, both of us feeling like we at some point missed out on each other, missed out on our own. He missed me as a mother, I missed my mother, and now we're turning all of this into a new reality. But I'd love to hear that story again. I think it's so valuable.
About speaking at Krugersdorp prison?
Yeah.
Well, first, I just want to say that, okay, I'll sell the story, say it. I was asked to speak at this maximum security prison there. First, I spoke to 400 individuals that worked at the prison. So this is the warden and all the guards, etc. Then I went 3 stories underground to the maximum security area. And we had Al Jazeera television crew there, and the television host there, and my publicist and my director and myself and the warden and 6 guards. And we walked into a holding room, and then locked behind ourselves that. And then we walked into the main room, and the room was literally packed like sardines with orange uniform maximum security prisoners. These are 25-year to life sentences. So these are the toughest of the group. And I had to walk in with 6 guards kind of guiding me through the room to the center. And I stood on a plastic kind of rubber stool to be tall enough for them to see me, because some of these people were much taller than I was. And I was surrounded by 6 guards, and and they're with batons and guns and stuff like that. I guess they were worried about it. I didn't feel really all that anxious, but I guess they were concerned that they might try to grab me or use me for something to escape. Who knows? And the first thing I said is, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've gone through, no matter what you've experienced in life, deep down inside, how many of you want to make a difference and make a contribution to the planet? And when I said that, within 1 billionth of a second, every hand went up. So it was a yearning inside everyone, no matter what they've been through in life, to want to make a contribution. So I'm speaking, and I'm speaking for about an hour. And finally, this guy starts challenging me. And I wasn't thinking, and I just came down off the stool and I walked towards him, because in my normal seminars, the breakthrough experience that I do, I just do that. I just walk up to people. And I wasn't really thinking. And the guards were like, no, you can't walk towards these prisoners. And but I did, and they just kind of came on my sides with me. And I said, because he says, you know, it's easy for you. You know, you have a good life, but me, I had no this, and I didn't have that, and I didn't have no mama, and she died early, and my father used to beat me. And he started running a story about, you know, why he was the way he was. And he was playing victim of history instead of mastery of destiny. And as I did, I stopped him. And I said, listen, no matter what you've been through, no matter what you've gone through, none of that is in the way. It's all on the way. And if you didn't have a mother, somebody else played your mother's role. And, you know, if you didn't have a mother physically, then a best friend's mother takes over, or a lady, a young woman takes over. You date an older girl that takes over, or a man takes on that role, or a priest takes on that role. Somebody takes on that role. And it's not wise to sit there and attach to one form, but be adaptable to the forms in which things evolve through. And I told him, I said, so you haven't missed anything. And he listened. And while he was listening, a little defiant, but he was listening, all of a sudden, way over on the other side of the room, this gentleman started bawling. He just started crying. And he yowled. I mean, you could hear him. It's like really a deep catharsis for a man. And so it brought my attention. We all looked, and there's a guy who had been in prison for 26 years. And he said all of a sudden, and I walked towards him. Again, the guards now are thinking I'm insane to walk amongst these people. I just walked. I was not anxious. I don't think anybody cared. They were focusing on this man right now. And when I walked directly over this man, across the room, 26 years in prison. And he was saying, I know who my mother is. I know who my mother is. And he turns to the warden. And he says, Warden, you're my mother. You've been my mother for 26 years. If it wasn't for you, I would be dead. You saved my life. You gave me my life. You're my mother. You have been there for me and kept me alive. You kept me and educated me. You helped my life. The warden was in tears. I think everybody in that room was in tears. It was a very heart-opening moment. The guards forgot they were guards. They were looking at their own life and going, oh my gosh. Everybody was diffused. I don't think any of the labels of prisoners were there. It was just a heart-opening moment and a deep realization. And the guy that was first kind of challenged me was humble. I was hugging another guy. It was a real educational experience. I couldn't have asked for a greater closure of my presentation to the prison. And it was a realization that nothing's missing. It's just in a form that we don't always honor and recognize. So I tell people in the breakthrough experiences, I travel the world and present that, and I've presented it 1,058 times, that nothing's missing in your life. At the level of the essence of your soul, nothing's missing. At the level of the existence of your senses, things appear to be missing. And when you finally realize the form that it's in and honor the form that it's in and be grateful for the form that it's in and realize that it was exactly what you needed for your journey, you realize you're not comparing your current reality to a fantasy about how it's supposed to be, which is making you not appreciate your life, but is now honoring it and realizing you have a mission to fulfill with it. And when you do that, an amazing catalytic, catapultic vitality comes to you. And that's what happened in that room that day. So yeah, that was a touching moment. in my life, and I think every prisoner in that room. And it's interesting, I went back to that prison a few months ago. I think it was in September.
Wow.
And I spoke to the same prison, and they had just had a major lockdown, and a guy tried to escape. So I didn't get to have a full crowd this time. But there were some of the people that were there the first time I went. This is 10 years later. And it was interesting. And this guy came up to me and he said, you inspired me. And I've got your book here in the prison. And I'm going to get out of this prison because of that, because I've changed my life. Because I realized that my anger for all the things I was expecting is gone now. And I want to change. I want to make a difference. And I want to get what I can done in this world. And he asked if he could take a picture, and I took a picture with him. Made his day, according to him, but it made my day because he's changing his life. And then there was a warden, not a warden, but one of the guards that was there 10 years ago, and he came up, and he had a little bit more white hair, and he came up to me and he says, you really made a difference that day. We were looking forward to you coming back here, and you changed my life. I now don't see these as bad individuals. I see them as human beings. And I have changed my whole approach to helping these people to transform their life. And I've seen lives change because of our attitudes as guards. So yeah, it's looking beyond the label, beyond the facade, and down into the core of the essence of a human being, and recognizing the magnificence of they are that transforms lives. I think that's what Paul Bragg did to me when I was 17, and what I like doing when I travel the world and teach the breakthrough experience or whatever to help other people.
That's such a powerful story. It moves me every time. Josiah, do you have any questions? And do you want to unmute yourself? There we go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just made it off the train. I'm walking to class now. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed that story that you shared. I don't try to get too emotional, but that almost had me tearing up listening to that, seriously. So thank you for that. A question that I've been dealing with is, you said, sometimes the thing that people say you can't do is the exact thing you will do or should do, or I'm probably not quoting it correctly. But one thing I've been struggling with is living in this fantasy or desire to do something that people tell me I constantly can't do. And at the same time, living in excuses of why I'm not good enough to get there. And I don't know if I'm tricking myself by trying to live a life that I wasn't meant to have, or if it's actually something that is meant to be. So I guess that's a loaded question, but.
Well, I don't know if it's wise to just do something because somebody says you can't do it as a defiance.
Right. No. Yeah, it's not that.
I think it's wise to look carefully and deeply, honestly at yourself, and look at what you spontaneously do every day that you love doing. That is a real spontaneity that you can't wait to get up in the morning and do, and target that. And you'll find that as you start building momentum, doing what it is that isn't meaningful and inspiring, that you'll find out that many people didn't think you had what it took to do it, but you ended up excelling at it. So in my case, I didn't do the speaking and the things to defy anybody. I did it because I had a dream to be able to overcome it. And once I discovered I could, I was blessed to be able to excel at it. So I wouldn't say that, there's been lots of things people told me I couldn't do. I can't say that I'm doing all those because some of them didn't have meaning to me. But overcoming my learning and speaking and those things were very important to me. So find the one that's truly meaningful to you that maybe somebody said you probably won't excel at, and go and pursue what's truly meaningful, and that's where you'll excel.
Josiah, do you want to ask directly to get a more direct answer about the thing that you're wanting?
Sure. I mean, sure, yeah. But, well, the thing is that I don't know. It's kind of difficult for me to word, but right now I'm working on an application to transfer into a school that I've been denied from twice. But for some reason, it seems like little things, like synchronicities. I don't know if that's something that you relate to per se, but basically I want to transfer to Stanford. I've been rejected twice, and a lot of people keep telling me other ways that I should do things, but it's something that I just feel compelled to do at the moment. And yesterday, this is going to sound really weird, but anyways, I went on my LinkedIn profile page, and all my experiences were written as like I was a Stanford student, and I thought I was dreaming it, so I took a video of it. and I rewatched it, and then I refreshed the page, and everything said back to my normal thing, like Notre Dame, my standard account. And I went back and rewatched the video to make sure that I wasn't like tripping myself out. And it was true. And so sometimes I believe some people say, you know, the universe can have a funny way of winking at you and showing that it has messages just to encourage you to keep going. But in all the ways that it seems like for me to apply right now, I'm weak in a lot of areas.
Well, if you're really determined to go to Stanford and you find out what is the challenge or obstacle that they say needs to be conquered to get there, if they see that you're perseverant and that you're not going to let anything stop you from that, you'll get there. If that's really that important. If somebody sees somebody persevere towards something and they don't give up, you know, the story of Abe Lincoln being a president. If you haven't read that, it's a worthy read, because, you know, they laughed at him. They told him he was crazy. He failed at it, and he had to get up, I don't know how many times, many times. But he said, I'm going to be president. I'm not going to stop till I get to be president. If I have to fall down 50 times, I'll get back up again. So if that's really important to you, you won't stop. If it's not a big enough drive, then you'll do something different. But if it's really meaningful and you stay and you go and get the grades, you go and get the classes, you go and do the things, and you do it again and again and again and again, and you prove to them that that's what you're committed to, they'd be insane not to take a person that committed. So it's the perseverance. If you show that you're not going to let anything on the face of the earth stop you from the objective, anybody in any school that's not willing to take on someone like that would be insane. I went to Rice University many years ago, and I brought 49 volumes that I'd written on philosophy, sciences, and religions of the world, and that I'd been working on for a while. And I brought them in a big series of boxes, 3 boxes. And I sat with the dean of admissions, and he said, I asked him, I said, is there any way I might be able to get some sort of credit for all the work I've been putting in on my own? This is just my own desire to do this. And he looked at me and he laughed. He leaned back in his chair and he says, well, I've seen 2 of you like you, but I can tell you right now, the best advice I can tell you is start your own university, start your own college. And I said, why do you say that? He said, because most of the professors would be intimidated by somebody that's done what you've done. And so my advice to do that, he said, well, I've already started my own school. I've already have my own classes and already have my own students around the world. Today I have more students than any university. But in the process of doing it, I chose to go my own path and create my own system. But if I saw that there was a college that was going to give me an advantage and that I was going to do it and it was a goal, then I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't let anybody on the face of the earth stop me from it. I would just keep going it and say, okay, if you need another class, take another class. You need to get a higher grade, go get a higher grade. You do what it takes, and sooner they're going to see it. And then that'll be a story that you'll use, just like the story of Steve Jobs when he spoke at Stanford. You know, he was a dropout, but he said, I want to do what I really want to do. And he went out and did this. And now they've asked him to be a speaker at Stanford. So if you really, really want to go, then don't let anything on the face of the earth stop you. Just to keep going through whatever the obstacle is and coming out as a king on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Any other questions, Josiah?
Yes, I have quite a few, but I'm trying to sort of put it into one feasible sentence. It's, I would say about like through like personal journey. And I noticed you said delegate the lower priority tasks so you have more time to focus on the things that truly matter, or that are of higher priority. So how would you say someone goes about doing that? And then how do you play that fine line of like not delegating everything you just don't want to do versus delegating things? You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do. First of all, the accountability that comes with delegation is for the person delegating to go and do what is highest on priority, that produces the most results, that actually serves people. Because if you don't do something with your own actions that produce an income, you won't have the income to delegate. Or if you don't structure the delegations in a way where it produces more than it costs, and you don't hire the people that would love to do it more than you and more skilled than you, so they produce more than you could do it, then you'll hold yourself back. Real delegation doesn't cost, it pays. But I know for me, I wanted to research, write, travel, teach. So that meant that I had to go and do researching, writing, and traveling and teaching in such a way that it produced more than it cost, so I could earn the income to delegate everything else off the plate. And I delegated everything else off. I mean, I haven't driven in 29 and a half years. I don't cook. I don't clean. I push a button at a hotel and they take care of it, or on my ship. I don't want to be doing low priority things that are uninspiring to me. I want to give job opportunities to people to do that, and get other people that would love to do that, and surround myself with people that are inspired to do that, and give an expansion of the economy while I do what I'm inspired to do. And I'm absolutely certain that can be done. I've taught thousands of people how to do that. But it starts with you caring enough about humanity to find what challenge in the world you would like to solve and fill the need, so you have a source of income to be able to delegate through. And that's finding out what is the contribution. What's the one thing, as Gary Keller says, that's a contribution you want to make on the planet that is so valuable that a vast number of people will be served by it, and a vast income can be generated by it.
Anything else?
Yeah, and one last, I guess, little tidbit that I would ask is, what sort of advice would you give to someone who's in their early 20s about going about tackling, like just being an adult? Because I think like you said, whenever you cried and your mom, and you realize like, maybe I won't be able to be this sort of person that I set out to be, like it just feels like everything has such a tremendous weight at the moment being 20, because it's like, you have to go and make something of yourself, and it seems like some ideas that you had like might die based on some of the decisions that I make right now. And whether that be true or not, I still think it'd be good to hear some advice or your take on things to do while 20 and this young.
Well, when I was 20 years old, I was in school.
Oh, sorry.
I was
earlier
doing
than that.
Yeah, when it's 20, all through my 20s, I taught. I started teaching right off the 23. I started doing professional teaching, but prior to that, I was just doing tutoring kind of stuff. I just asked myself, what is it I really want to do, and how do I do it every day? It wasn't until I was 27, 28 that I read a book called The Time Trap by Alec McKinsey that really helped me prioritize things more effectively and delegate things effectively. But I was gradually, organically moving in that direction without knowing why. But all I say is that I didn't care about sleeping. What I cared about is getting the goal done. And you have when the why is big enough, the house take care of themselves. If you've got a big enough reason for doing something, you won't let anybody on the planet, not even yourself, interfere with it. So you want to make sure you're really going and pursuing that which is truly meaningful to you, because you're not going to let yourself down on that. Even if you have setbacks. I had some setbacks, but they were temporary setbacks, and you always find a way through them if it's really, truly meaningful to you. So if you have a goal to do something, start with what you know and let what you know grow every day. You know, I wrote down when I was 18 that I wanted to travel the world. I wrote down that I wanted to learn to overcome my learning problems. I wanted to write, I wanted to teach. I wanted to go to every country around the world. I wanted to be able to study universal laws as it relates to healing also. I wrote down what I knew. These are things that were unwavering, absolute clear things that I knew I wanted. And I started there. And I just kept building on what I knew. I always say, start with what you know and let what you know grow. Start with what your life demonstrates you're committed to. Not fantasies, but start with what your life demonstrates you're committed to. And then ask yourself every day, what is the highest priority action I could do right now that'll move me one step closer to fulfilling that? And if you do that every day, when you finish and you ask, what's the next highest priority action step I can do now to get me one step closer? I guarantee you'll build momentum, and you won't, if there's an obstacle, it'll melt away. You'll bypass it. If that's all a human being can do is stick to the highest priority things they can do every hour. And if you're doing that, I mean, Bill Gates says, and I followed some of what he said. Bill Gates said that what is the greatest thing I can do with the greatest number of people with the resources I have today? Well, that's a great question to ask every day. And I learned to ask 7 questions. What is it I would absolutely love to do? How do I get handsomely and beautifully paid to do it? What are the highest priority actions I can do today to make it happen? What obstacles am I to run into, and how do I solve them in advance? So I have foresight, not hindsight. I don't learn through trial and error. I learn through mentorship and foresight. What worked and what didn't work today? How do I do it more effectively and efficiently tomorrow? And how did whatever I experienced today, how is it helping me get my dream? And if I ask that question, it's impossible for me not to get that dream. It's just a matter of time. And after a while, you know, if you stay with something long enough, everybody else dies out and you end up at the top. You just got to stay with it long enough.
Anything else?
Where are you in Tokyo right now?
I'm actually in Kyoto right now doing a language school for 4 weeks, and then I'm moving to Tokyo. I start school March 23rd, and I'll be staying over in Yokohama.
Okay, because I come to Tokyo in the 1st of April. We're doing research at Keio University there.
Dude,
And,
no way. No way. That's the university I'm going to.
I know. I was just there a few weeks ago at Kyoto there. You may know a Professor Maeno, M-A-E-N-O, and he's involved in intelligence and human behavior, and he's a very brilliant man there. And there's another one, Takashi, that that we're working with. So I'll be there, actually, as far as I know, at that university, probably when I'm there on the 1st of April, I think. Some 1st or 2nd or 3rd.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually my first day of school is the 1st, so I'll be there. Keio University, that's crazy. I don't actually know anyone else from the States that I can even talk to about Keio, so that just surprised me. Maybe you knew I was going to Keio, but I had no idea.
No, I didn't, but you said Kyoto, so I figured that's what it is. Because you came right off the airport. See, the train is 1 block. It's just off the train. The university is right there. So when you come off the train, you walk out the steps up onto the university. So that's why I saw you were at the university immediately out of the train.
Maybe you guys will connect and run into each other there.
We'll make sure that we can make it happen.
That's awesome.
Yes. And you said Keio University or Kyoto?
No, Keio, K-E-I-O.
Okay, awesome. Yep, that's the exact one I'll be at.
Yeah, that's where you just came off the thing. I can tell by the way you came out.
Okay, I'm sorry. I meant right now I'm in Kyoto, and I'm going to language school. So I got off at Karasuma stop, and I'll be learning Japanese because I don't know a lick of Japanese. I came here not knowing anything. So I figured I might try to learn something.
Well, the Japanese are amazing people, and I've been very blessed to get to do programs there. I learn a lot from it. I think the world can learn a lot from some of their cultural insights. and their respect that they have.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, like even down to the little things, just a little bit off the cuff, but I wondered immediately when I got there why their bathrooms were structured the way they were, and I thought it was weird because they like to take a shower and then take a bath. And my immediate response was like, that's really weird. This whole bathroom is literally a bathroom. But then the more I thought about it, the more sense it made that they get clean and then hop into a bathtub. And it's little things like that that have been changing my perspective on like what I perceive as weird is different. Sometimes can have a lot of insight into how people can do things
well
differently.
The Japanese are very efficient, and they use space, time, and almost everything quite efficiently. Their use of space and their use of actions, as you know, when you go up and down the escalators, you have a side. In America, it's just a mess.
Right.
You have one side that people go fast and slow, and you respect it. It's very, very structured nicely.
Right.
Dr. D. Oh yeah, Josiah, what were you going to say?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say it's about time that I have to go into classes. But I wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time. Even though I didn't get to participate as much in the beginning, I really loved hearing those stories, and it's incredibly inspiring.
Well,
I mean that.
Just know that whatever you see in others, you have inside you. So you have something inspiring to bring to the world. So thank you for being part of our triangle today.
Yeah, and Dr. D, oh my gosh, just thank you so much for your time, for your commitment to spreading knowledge and healing and freedom to people, to humanity. I'm one of those people that got to turn my legacy through information and time with you and other great leaders. Josiah, I feel, is like a spring of that, and it's just so beautiful to be together with you doing that. And you were even generous with like, okay, let's get the technology right so we can be with the most people today and impact the most people. So I know our Facebook viewers, they've put comments, but I didn't want to leave the conversation, but they got some value out of it as well. Josiah, you've got an Instagram where people can follow your journey into Stanford and in Japan, right?
That one's still private, but I have
it's not private anymore.
the general Instagram.
I have the Rich Queen podcast, and Dr. Demartini. There are lots of ways to work with you. What's your favorite way for people to find you?
Well, just go to drdemartini.com, my website, or my Facebook, but the website has everything, and they can, if they want to go and learn, it's a learning center. So that'd be great. So thank all of you for the opportunity to chat today, and it's great meeting you in Tokyo there, and in Japan, I mean, and I look forward to seeing you there when I'm there.
Awesome.
That sounds good.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Love to you both.
Okay.
Bye.
Awesome. I'll see you guys later.
Josiah, hold on. Hold on, Josiah. Say hello.
Okay.
Z had to say hello, and that's Dr. D. All right.
Hey, Zena.
Okay. She was like, you better let me see my brother. All right. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
All right.
Guys.
Bye-bye.